Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look at this great coffee table art book, The Hooded Gunman. Now The Hooded Gunman looks at all the classic Collins Crime Club hardbacks right back from the 1930s up to today, and it is fantastic, beautifully illustrated. I think if you're a fan of old books and this channel, then you will absolutely love The Hooded Gunman. So that is what we're going to take a look at today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Right then, so The Hooded Gunman. What a tome this is. You can feel the weight of it. It's a real coffee table book, this, and one for the real crime connoisseur. So close look at the front cover here. Well, as you can see, it's made up of this montage of classic crime jackets, and the actual front jacket is it's die cut, because underneath you can see the actual iconic gunman, the Hooded Gunman there. And the back jacket is very, very similar. Now, in the UK, this one, full price retail was £40, and in the States it was $50. However, I bought mine off Amazon, and I paid £27, so not a bad price. That's like a third off, so that's a pretty good price, all things considered, particularly when you factor in such a heavy book, how much that would be to post ordinarily. So basically, the little introduction here just tells you exactly what the purpose of the book is. Now, the author, Dr. John Curran, is a noted Agatha Christie expert, and obviously if you're into Agatha Christie, then Agatha Christie and Collins are inextricably linked between the two people, the two organizations. So if you collect Agatha Christie, obviously you collect the Collins crime editions, and I guess that's probably where his love of the rest of the Collins archive comes from. Now, he has been given access to the Collins archive, and I guess that's where he's pulled a lot of the jacket illustrations from. So I shall do my best. I'm not going to go through and read every page. I mean, it's too big a book for that. But I feel this is the sort of book that, it just speaks for itself. Now, it's not brand new. This one actually came out last year. But I didn't have any sort of exposure to this one until I went onto a specific Agatha Christie Facebook group, which I shall link to down below. So a really, really good one that I recommend. And I popped up a few pictures of my Collins crime paperbacks that I picked up recently in this huge paperback haul, and someone said, "Oh yeah, you must look at this book," and this is why I bought it. So I'm very, very pleased for that tip off, and that's why I'm sort of sharing it with you today. This is quite interesting because this actually takes its cue from the mid-1950s Penguin books, where they published 10 classic Collins crime novels for their anniversary, the 25th anniversary. So 1930 is when Collins started, and the way the book is laid out is sort of a history of the publishing company first of all, and then the earliest books, and of course one of the very earliest books that we know of weren't Collins ones until 1930, but this sort of recounts the road leading up to the Collins Crime Club forming. And there we are, the Detective Story Club. So yeah, I think it was that was the forerunner to the Collins Crime Club, was the Detective Club. And obviously these are sort of legendary scarcity. You just don't really see them around at all. This Edgar Wallace stories pulled from Hush magazine. Then along came the Crime Club as we know it. Some early sort of information here, a little Crime Club postcard, which is quite nice, isn't it? Similar to what a lot of the publishers started to do, join the Crime Club. And then the very early books, of course, were sort of almost Art Deco, you could say. They were not painted per se, but they did sort of have the green background with various typefaces. And there's a very scarce copy of the Crime Club News. Now that's dated spring 1936, which is around the time that the paperback imprint came out as well. Now the paperbacks aren't really covered too much in this book. It's just they only get a few pages, whereas I'm a huge paperback fan. But I do also love rare first editions, so that's why this book is equally as good. But it's good that they do at least get a mention here. An advertisement for Crime Club from 1964, trade publication. And then we are. So this is the first sort of real meaty part, and this is the first decade, the 1930s. So many great books came out during this period, and obviously some of them I recognise because I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, so I know most of the Christie first edition covers, but so many of these I've never ever seen before, and they're just fantastic. Interestingly, like this one down here by Miles Burton, The Secret of High Eldresham, that jacket itself, you can see it's not complete because chances are it just doesn't exist even in the Collins archive. But yeah, certainly some of the names I recognise, but not these jackets. They are quite something, aren't they? It does look as if the bigger authors of the time, Agatha Christie, Philip MacDonald, Freeman Wills-Croft, they seem to get the sort of painted cover treatment, whereas some of the maybe lesser known authors are just getting the generic covers, although as the Agatha Christie, the 13 Problems got the generic cover there. And as you can see, I think there's just about 2,100 books that Collins published. I think the imprint finished around 2005, and every single book, I believe, is in here. Unfortunately, not all the paperback jackets, just a selection, but still lovely to see all these hardbacks. And you may well see some of these and think, I've got to get myself a copy of that. So this book may be slightly worse off for your wallet if you end up seeing some books that you simply have to have in your collection. If you can find them, of course. But aren't they lovely? Absolutely lovely. There has been some real outstanding books, and books that make you want to just dive in and think, I must read this, It would be so nice to have a collection of these, but they're so expensive unless you got very lucky and you inherited a big run of them to get you off from running. It would be quite a tall order. However, if you do want to dip your fingers in a little bit, you can get the facsimile editions of the Agatha Christie's, which aren't a fortune. They're all less than £10 a pop, and fairly easy to find on eBay, and that would at least give you the feel of and look of one of these original hardbacks. We're on to the 1940s now, and obviously if you are a fan of hardback cover art, it's very interesting to see how the style changes over time. It's one of my favourites, that the body in the library. Although I think my favourite cover is the mid-50s pan edition, or mid to late 50s pan edition, which was really good, of that particular title. They are very, very good though. You can see this is such a work of love has been put into this. Just fantastic. And obviously we're just sort of skipping over the accompanying text which goes with each page. And there are little inserts on particular books in the spread here. So it's very much a book to lose yourself in this. Onto the 1950s. And I think from the 1950s upwards, certainly if you're looking to collect these, they do become much easier to get your hands on. So if you do fancy any of these, I don't think you're going to have an awful lot of trouble. Obviously there's certain books which are harder to get than others. Some sold better than others. Some authors are more collectible than others. But certainly all the Agatha Christie's from the 50s I've seen, they're out there. Maybe not all in the best of condition, but you can definitely pick them up. Something like that, 450 from Paddington was, even today, is really, you're not going to have a job getting a first edition of that. They are out there. But seeing all these other ones that came out at the same time is just amazing. Imagine working in the book trade back in the 1950s, what you must have had through your hands. So here we are into the 1960s now. Early Ellis Peters there. There's some more recent authors starting to come through now. Nicholas Blake. That's one of them. Andrew Garve, yeah. Still some classic authors pumping them out. Ross MacDonald, yeah. Naomi Marsh. Some good stuff. Not so much a fan of that design, but I guess it's of its time, you see. And the later you go into time, the more recent you get, the styles just change. And it was reflecting what was on the shelves at the time and the art styles. Which is why if you stick to one author, say you collect all the Agatha Christie, you could pretty much have a snapshot of the book cover design, literally year by year. As you can see, just phenomenal amounts of stuff to get stuck into here. Just flicking over them a little bit further now because we're still only about halfway through. The 70s still, and tail end of the 70s into the early 80s. And you can still find these editions generally without too much issue. Certainly I've found some over the years, some Ross MacDonalds I found in this format. Mid-80s now. Into the 90s. Not a massive amount of change, but I guess these would have been sold onto libraries as well in fairly reasonable numbers. And the postscript. Now, what's been quite good is that the author has been able to track down a few authors and get their little contributions to it, which is quite nice. Which is, just adds a little bit to it. So here are some of the statistics. So they published 2,012 titles, 263 different writers, 15 Edgar nominations, 11 anthologies, 7 Gold Dagger winners, 3 games, 3 Detection Club presidents, 2 Edgar winners, 2 Dames of the British Empire, and 1 Poet Laureate. There we are. Here's a little thing on the White Circle paperbacks, which I've covered just a week or so ago on my channel. So if you want to have an in-depth look at those, the 100 or so that are in my collection of those, they are. I'll put the link just above there, so you can check those out. There's an example of one of the 10 that they published for the 25th anniversary, and they were published by Penguin. So they got the Collins Hooded Gunman there, and the Penguin logo on the right, which is quite nice. I've got all of those as well. So here's the card games. So I've never seen those before. How cool is that? The Crime Club card game. I didn't know anything about that, and they look gorgeous. I bet they're rather expensive. Crime novel. Oh, they did a competition, didn't they? Crime novel competitions. She alludes to getting to the bottom of, which is quite good. Now this is the blurb, so this is for every single book going forward. This is the back cover or inside dust wrapper blurb, which is quite nice. And obviously there's a lot of that, but it does give you, it's done by author and then title, so you can see them all and look them up and see which one potentially you might fancy. So that obviously takes up a big old part of the book, is the encyclopedia. This is quite nice. So these are short story collections, which is really good. So if you, like me, are a big fan of the old short story, mainly for time constraints, you can read one in the evening. Great way to find out what's what. They also did some rather nice omnibuses. You see the Agatha Christie ones around now and again. Once again, they're quite expensive, but it's nice to know. Then you've got abroad in the Crime Club, titles that were duplicated, different sorts of topics. And then there is a list of all the White Circle paperbacks. Now I say all of them, so I see they've got the main series there, 6pence, and they've done it by price, 6pence, 9pence, a shilling, 2 shillings, then 1 and 6 for the last ones. Then they went on to the glossy cover ones. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Then 2 shilling ones up to number 297. What they don't list is all the services editions. They don't list the Canadian or the Indian editions, which is a shame. But that, I believe, is still a work in progress. Then there's literally an A to Z by book title. So if you know the title of a book, you can then look it up and find out exactly where it is in the history. So there you are. What a tome, you could say. What a tome. And as I said, if you are into book design, and if you like a bit of crime, then this is the book for you. It's absolutely fantastic. You can really lose yourself in that for many, many hours. And chances are you will see a few little gems that you think, I've just got to get myself a copy of that one. If you do fancy buying a copy of this book, I have conveniently linked to it in the description down below, so you can pick one up brand new off Amazon, the same thing that I did, and potentially you might be able to find a second-hand one on eBay, but I wouldn't hold your breath for that, because if, like me, you're going to get a book like that, you ain't going to get rid of it, because it's just such a great reference in itself. And a surefire future collectible, something like that, once it goes out of print, absolutely it's going to be like gold. So if it was me, I would buy one sooner rather than later. So as I said, I'll put a link to that one in the description down below. So there we are. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing for regular book and paperback related content. There's loads already on the channel, and there's loads more still to come. And I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.